Hi everyone, and welcome to The Art of Clean Code, the next chapter. First of all, just a little detail. This is a sequel. There was another talk of mine available on YouTube already at Devox Poland 2 years ago, which had some content. I tried to avoid that content and to create some new for this session. That's why I call it the next chapter. Okay, so if you liked it, maybe check out that other talk and see the missing pieces that you'll from this talk. Okay, before I introduce myself, I would like to start with a question. When something is painful and you cannot simply avoid doing it, what do? What do people do? Yes, thank you. That's the perfect answer. But the human way of reasoning is let it for tomorrow, right? Let's postpone it. Next day you become a tech lead, right? And what do? You delegate, of course. Excellent. But that's not the mature way of handling things. What you should do, as you said already, do it more often. This is the backing philosophy. Bring the pain forward, the backing philosophy of extreme programming. How many of you have ever heard of extreme programming? Raise your hand. Yes, I love you. I love you. Extreme programming doesn't mean you are doing sky gliding while coding. It means to be a professional. And they addressed exactly the four most dramatic pains that we encounter at work. First of all, how does it feel when you are in some code base? No, when you are on your branch for 2 months. Oh my God. Because you know the merge will come to you. And what do they say? Don't wait 2 months for that to happen. Do frequent pushes. Maybe even go for trunk-based development if you are strong enough for that. But try to avoid branching for a long time because that will inhibit refactoring on the main branch and the other one. So you will just freeze the code base actually. Next one, after you do the merge, they call you for a code review. And how do you go to get your code review? I'll tell you like this. So the point is, don't wait for the inevitable, but instead ask for help. When something is just 1% over your comfort zone, just ask for help. Step on your pride and ask for help. Ask for pair programming, not all the time. If you are lucky enough to do it full time, perfect, amazing. But if not, when the problem is just a bit over your head, realize it, recognize it, and ask for help. The third one, with the code base which was never refactored, how does it feel? So what do they say? Don't ever push code unless it is worthy of added to your CV. That's not literally what they said, but this is how I like to put it. Is it worthy to be added to my CV? This is how I write code. If it is, you can push it, right? And the fourth and the worst pain of all, you open some code and you find exactly 0 unit tests. How does it feel? Oh, you won't dare to touch the code because if you break it, it becomes yours. You know that. So then you leave it like that. They do tests first. Even if you don't do tests first, don't ever push code. Don't ever put code in visible sight unless it has a reasonably good unit test suite. Good. Are you agile? A gazelle is agile, right? Why? Because it runs fast. And in some countries, this is how agile is seen. Exactly. And this is the business. Right. So this is not what agile was actually supposed to be. Agile stood for those 4 technical practices at the beginning. Extreme programming was the purest of all. And those who fight today for to resuscitate, to recover those lost values are under the umbrella of software craftsmanship. And I saw a booth downstairs, software craftsmanship. Interesting. So these guys fight for technical practices, for a code of ethics, like like Hippocrates, right? These guys focus on reflecting on how you work. Now, in this happy tone, I'm Victor. I'm from Romania. I'm actually the 2nd Java champion in Romanian. I'm a lead architect and basically an internal coach at IBM. And I do this weird stuff. I do pair programming. I never wrote code alone for the past 10 months. In production, I always have someone with me. Sometimes 2 or 3 more. Refactoring, you'll see the way that we refactor as we go. I never sit back and then, now let's refactor. No, as you type code, you burn in the refactoring. And TDD, I don't claim I do TDD every day. I can't. But I do at least once per week. Whenever I can isolate a problem, don't hesitate to take out the bazooka, right? Okay, now let's TDD this one. But if you can isolate it and if it pays to do that. Now, To get the point that I'm really serious about this stuff, you can read here, Bucharest Software Craftsmanship Community. So I'm pretty serious about this stuff. And I've been talking about this for a long, long time already. And the point of this slide is actually that I have a website. That's the bottom. Yeah, that's the point. You can find the recording of the other talks that I gave until now. And I've been training quite a bunch of people, and this is actually a synthesis of the clean code training that I deliver in many companies already. And I also teach on O'Reilly, by the way. But of course, to get the point, the clean code training is among the most. So I've been talking about these topics that you will see today for quite some years. Right? Great. Now, the point of this slide, however, is in the corner for you, that I post regularly on all these 3 social networks, all together, things that I learned myself, funny things that I found, interesting stuff. Now, let's begin. Clean code. So the little bit of structure, there will be some slides for the first part of the presentation, and then for the second part, there will be some live coding, cleaning up the famous video store example from Martin Fowler's first book. We'll get there. Clean code does one thing well, says the inventor of C++. CRP, right? Single responsibility principle. Clean code reads like well-written prose. It was written by someone who cared, right? When you open up a method, you don't fall off your chair when you read the implementation. You expect to find the things that you find when you open something up. Right? The code doesn't shock you. Any fool can write, this is the famous quote of Martin Fowler, anyone can write code that a computer can understand. And we all enjoy this. I'm not sure if any of you have memories about this, but a few people are, however, able to write code that other human can understand. This actually leads to the ISO unit of measure for clean code, which is, I won't spell it out, it's just that. Your code, when you code review it, should not annoy you, should not make you swear. Okay? That's the universal clean code measure. Why do we care? Right? Why? Because the cost of software is not in the initial development, but in its maintenance. Quite a lot of cost goes there, as you all know. So the point is that the task, which is very simple for us to do today, in several years becomes harder and harder, leading to the inevitable rewrite, or I don't know, breaking up of things, refactoring, Big Bang, I don't know. This is called code smells. Now, why? This is our boss's job, right? Because this actually buys us a job, right? We will have a job tomorrow because of that, right? But when you realize that you read 10 times more time than you get to write, it kind of make a click, right? Oh, so when you write 6 minutes code, someone will have thoughts about you for 1 hour. And something might change in your attitude. Now, a simple rule, like vowel rule, when you push something, don't limit yourself to just doing your simple if. Don't just put there your little additional code. Just clean up the mess that you find. Clean up the entire garden when you leave from there. Now, just to make things clear, refactoring is to simplify existing code. Simple is not easy, as Rick Hickey puts it. There's quite a nice talk you can watch. Simplify, but while preserving the behavior. The point is, the moves that you do should be safe. Don't cut and then under compilation failure, start refactoring. Try to copy and make the old code useless, grayed out, and then kill it. Just replace the implementation. Don't do big bangs. And use the IDE. We will get to that. Always try to do the tiniest possible steps. And I once heard someone saying, write down, when you start working, write down on a piece of paper with your hand. Write down the commit message of the next commit. Can you imagine doing that? What's the next little stuff to do? Write with your, I want it to be painful for you. Write with your hand. Be sure to limit yourself, because otherwise you will find yourself straying, doing, don't know what other stuff you find out. And also, always, this is very critical, very hard to start refactoring code that you don't have a test suite for. But the point is, if you're talking about legacy code, you will build the unit test as you refactor. It's impossible to cover with unit test obnoxious, ugly code. Completely ugly code. That's the point. While you refactor, you build the scaffolding, you build the unit tests. We will see. Now, we all enjoy coding, right? But many teams that I worked with, when we talked about unit testing, they thought about this. Why do you think they thought about Sonar? Because Sonar had a rule that you had to have 80% cover. This is, we are live streaming, so this is wrong, totally wrong. And can you figure out why did I put here a confessional when I'm talking about the refactoring sprint that we are all waiting for, perhaps? Because when you request your boss to give you a refactoring sprint, you are actually openly admitting that you did a bad job. If it's your code, I mean, right? That's Father, I have sinned. Right? I want to repent. Give me one sprint to refactor. Huh? This is not right. That's why you should never have these 3 post-its on your board. Never. If it's the same use case or user story, never separate them. Never. So kill those 2. These are embedded in the way we work. Otherwise, you will come to work in such a place dominated by fear and terror. And that's not what you want. But you will say, okay, but we don't have time. I know. Trust me, I've seen so many developers. We don't have time. Do you guys know what a deadline means in Webster Merriam Dictionary? A deadline is a line around the prison that if you cross, they can shoot you without warning. That's the first meaning of deadline. The second one has to do with the time that we know. Right? So we have a deadline to meet, right? And I understand that. I respect that. Life is life. But tell me, what do you do after the delivery day or the D-Day? You know? What do you do afterwards? Hide. Drink. Excellent. That's not quite what you should do, right? Now, what are these guys doing? Can you figure out? They are doing mob refactoring. Huh? Or if you saw a terrible code just before the demo, just before the delivery, right after that point, the next day, you don't start planning, you don't start retrospective, just 1 hour, time-boxed, in a single room, all the developers together in that team, on the projector, starting to kill the beast. If in 1 hour you can figure it out, at least you can set some goals for the entire teams. I've seen a team of 4 developers. First of all, can you imagine a class of 35,000 lines? 35000. No, I have it on my laptop. It's not my code, but 4 developers I know, 3 years working in that class, just pushing in the right direction, managed to break that class in hundreds of classes, 300 and something. All by team effort without any big bang. Just imagine yourself, every one of you, if you go out that door, kicking the wall. In 1 day, there will be a hole. In 2 days, the wall will start cracking. In 1 week, God forbid, no. But you imagine the power of a team. That's the point. If in 1 hour you can fix it, at least you set some goals, right? Clean code. Now, what I find in my trainees, everywhere I go, clean code has a lot to do with emotions. A lot to do, because faculty, education system, especially in computer science, tries to make us forget that we are humans. We are working with bits, right? Ifs. That's not right. We are emotions-driven animal, and that's most visible when I'm talking about clean code. So clean code, and you will see today what I mean, means to listen carefully to your emotion and use those hints that instinct gives you. Very, very important. And it's also about teamwork. As I said, we can turn down this building. And also about attitude. Right? Very important to keep a smile on your face, to make coding fun. Right? It's very, very important to be happy and relaxed and be willing to, because if you are stressed, it's over. So what I would like to ask you is, all of you, is what do you choose to do? How do you choose to behave, really? Because I find that the content of clean code is pretty obvious and pretty natural to most developers. What makes the difference is that how you choose to behave. For me, the trigger was this website. If you know it, if you don't, maybe go there and see. There are those videos, super interesting. They took me out from this. Good. A great man once said that with great power comes great responsibility. Now, what this means is the Broca's area. Do you know what Broca area is? Is a place in your brain which has to do with speech, actually, with naming. Okay? Naming, one of the two hardest problems in computer science. So, to put the simple things first, classes are nouns. Every kid knows that nowadays. But when you choose those names, be sure to avoid meaningless particles. Like, tell me, if you see order info, order data, and order, all of those three sitting right next to each other in the same package, what do you feel? What's the difference? You say, what the heck? It's like what? Like refusing your power, huh? Order blah, blah, blah. Or order blah, blah. I don't care, data. It has fields. No. Okay, perhaps it would be better to stress out some interesting, intelligent names, like details with 200 fields. Huh? Good. And summary with 10 fields, only for search. For any name you choose, especially for the entity or the nouns, have 3 to 5 options before putting a name. It's very important. Force yourself, exercise practice, right? I want all of you to enlarge this. Okay. Good. Now, in this happy tone, let's talk about customer service. What is it? It's an interface, of course. Oftentimes, right next to it, there's a class named customer service. Brilliant. Or the alternative, order service impl and order service interface, right? This is not often, I don't see that often nowadays, but the point is very simple, delete the interfaces. You should delete the interfaces except 3 cases. When you package the interface in a jar and send it to someone else, we rarely do that anymore. It depends. If it's a strategy pattern and you juggle with the implementations and runtime, or maybe you weave some decorator over the existing class, or basically meaning polymorphic method dispatch decided at runtime, which is a valid case, very interesting, very clean at times, or it has to do with dependency inversion. If you want to hear about dependency inversion, come to my talk tomorrow. It's clean architectures. It has to do with an onion, with the most advanced architecture in the world. The onion architecture. Now, the point is, I want to delete the interfaces if they have only one implementation in the same module. Simple as that, right? But again, it's not anymore such a great disease that. But now, a hard question. Have you ever blamed some code? Who has ever blamed some code? Come on. Yes, everyone. And now, keep your hands up, and keep them up in case you were the author of that code. Yes. Those of you who are still standing with your hands up, those of you have realized that when you, by the way, this is something that my father used to tell me, when you blame someone with 1 finger, 3 fingers are pointing to you. Very interesting. Now, those of you who had your hands up until the end, those of you had that moment in which that they realize that they actually forget in time. That's a transcendental moment. That's an epiphany. That first you realize that you are also stupid. Then you realize that probably you didn't review enough the code. And thirdly, you realize that the design of Friday on Monday, it's fuzzy already. Not to mention 3 months from now, right? And there you are trying to understand some code, right? This is your life. This is the normal developer's life. Because the world revolves today because of legacy code that you have to understand. And tell me, how does it feel when after reading for a while, you get the point and you put that line that you have to do? 1 line. Now, let me give you some more details. You spent 2 hours reading the code, 1 minute to add the code. How do you feel? I tell you, like this. But many people just interiorize this frustration, and then this leads to burnout, other stuff. When that's actually a hint from your subconscious that the code was hard to understand. So what should you do to relieve that frustration of just reading code? It was hard to understand because the names didn't speak for themselves. So what you should do is to find a better name. But sometimes you have this feeling, I can't be smarter than the elders. Yeah, the elders. So what do? You just leave it like that. Who am I? So the point is, don't. The idea, you are not paid to write code. You are paid to understand the business problem and to solve it in the least amount of code, in the simplest possible way. I also have a say, juniors are super eager to write code. Seniors can't wait to delete it. So rename it. Rename it. It takes seconds with your IDE. Very, very easy, and very rarely it will fail. And when it will, you will find out. You will figure out in time. Martin Fowler actually has a name for this. It's called comprehension refactoring. When you figure out something and you want to leave behind some landmarks, some hints for the next poor fellow who will try to understand that. So. Now, let's talk about the gap. You know, the gap, on one side is this fellow with a tie. I don't see much of you wearing ties. So it must be you, this guy. And there's a gap, you know. There's a bridge, there's a gap to bridge. And one thing that we need to do is to strive to make the code as close as possible to the domain. How many of you are familiar with domain-driven design? Domain-driven design, perfect. You know, there's an amazing book named the first 15 years. It's a free book, you can read it yourselves. Basically, it's a set of essays of successful domain-driven design projects for the past 15 years. All of those essays have in common the fact that all the projects that had benefit from the DD actually stressed a lot the ubiquitous language, focused a lot of crunching the domain, of understanding all the subtleties. So language. Do you like overload? It's the same method with the same name, but different sets of arguments. Yay! More functions, less names. You get the point? Now about utils, I can't stop it. It's too tempting for me to put this slide. Util classes. What do you feel? Util. Huh? Good. Now, but for a bare minimum, at least collect selectively, right? Now, but you will ask probably, okay, how else, right? You need to put some stuff in util. Now, just imagine a method which takes two parameters. One thing you could do, if the method is general purpose, doesn't have any domain knowledge, and you never need to mock it out, one thing you could do, you can turn the method into a static utility, right? Very simple, very trivial. But there is one more step you could do, which is somehow, whoa, you could create a new class with the two necessary fields and which has that method. Just imagine the SSN, so social security number, or a class, the so-called microtypes, or the very bits of 1, 2, 3 fields. You will see today such examples of data with logic embedded, burned in them. Value object, which actually means exactly that. To deepen your domain logic, to discover new concepts in your domain model. Functions. It's all functions, right? Oh my God. A function should do one thing. Let's start with the classic. A function should do one thing, or should do it well, and should do it only, says Uncle Bob, who wrote the clean code book. And then they should be small. How small should a function be? 3 lines. Not 3, 5. At which point half of you get up and leave, right? What? I mean 5? Are you insane? 5 lines of code. What the heck? Why? Actually, Uncle Bob changed his mind afterwards. He said 5 is too much. They should extractively drop. He literally answered to me on Twitter. The point is, why? Because the idea, if you have 5 lines, how many things you can do? Really? If you do a try-catch, you're out of lines. What the heck? What would you do? You would call other methods. There you go. But the point is, 5 lines method, you get the chance of naming it. Just imagine now a function of 200 lines. How would you name it? Execute. Process. Do all, right? But that's not the point. The point is okay. Now, I agree that in normal enterprise applications in which you just move data from here to there, that's what enterprise applications do. Move data, right? When you move data, such a rule is kind of weird. I mean, wow, really? I'm just get set. What the heck? So 5 is a bit too less for me, but I would say less than 1 monitor. And when I say that, I don't mean you should rotate your monitor. Don't. Just to be clear, don't. Now, even so, this is just a number. The heuristic that I do today is, in case I find a method that I don't understand in 5 or 7 seconds, I crack it. I don't hesitate. And what would I do? I will break it into pieces. I will extract methods. Get it? Little methods. And I always have here at the belt a knife, right? That knife is called extract method. And when I see it, I don't think extract. So this is one of the two things I would like you to take out of today's deep dive. Rename every time, and the second one is extract as often as possible. Extract methods, put your hand in the code, keep them there. Don't read code like this. No? I'm scrolling, oh no. I want you to be like that in the code. Right? Always be able to take out code and to extract a method. And extracting a method is just the beginning of a beautiful friendship. You might then extract a class. Who knows? Maybe a micro. Okay, now some people are concerned about this fight between performance and clean code. When clean code literally actually means small methods, that's actually one of the key points of clean code. But in Java and in any other virtual machine language, smaller methods run faster. If you don't believe me, just Google JIT, just-in-time compiler. If you have a complex method, JIT might even say, and it might even actually print in the console, this method is whacked up. I can't optimize it. Right? You don't want to do that. You want little methods that JIT can juggle with and compile to native code very easy and very optimal. But some other of us are scared by small functions because instead of manipulating just one big function, suddenly they have to juggle with 20 little functions. And trust me, you won't even recall the names of those 20 functions. Instead of having one function, here they go, 20. When you named the last one, you don't recall the name of the first one. So you, as an author, feel like you're losing control. But the whole team will thank you. Why? Because the methods you extracted aren't named like M1, M2, M3. No, they have beautiful names like send activation email to customer or remove all past cancelled orders. Honestly, if you don't understand what this function does, I don't want you in my team. Simple as that, right? Very small methods with descriptive names. But I want you to think of the atomic bomb. Of Richard Feynman. You know Richard Feynman was one of the greatest teachers in the world ever. Absolutely brilliant. He was at some point working, there's the link for the article, he was working for the atom bomb, and he was sending letters to his wife. But guess what? The Secret Services intercepted those mail, obviously. But then look what he did. He bought puzzles. He wrote the mail on the back of the puzzle and then broke the puzzle apart. His wife assembled back the message, read the message, and sent back in the same way. After several such exchanges, the CIA sent him a mail. Please stop doing that. We have one guy assigned to do just that for you. Please stop doing that. Right? But I want you to realize, how would it feel to have a puzzle and to want to paint something over it? I know it's a bit weird, but the first thing you will have to do is to assemble back the puzzle. So if you want to ever refactor, or optimize, redesign completely some code, which is broken into many pieces, I would inline everything back. I will print it on a big piece of paper, big one, like the bill, right? Learn it by heart, because, why? Because human brain works better with monoliths, with blocks of text, instead of juggling with hundreds, dozens of names. And after I'm done painting, I will take the puzzle, break it into pieces, again extracting back the method while I leave. This is how well-factored code can be dramatically redesigned. Now, does this make any sense? Right? So first, inline back, if you have to dramatically change the way you're doing things, twist it around and then break it into pieces. Now, let's talk about this method call. The first thing I would like to ask you is, what is Paris? At which point you should ask, what the heck are you with? Paris, for Christ's sake. Paris, everyone knows what Paris is. It's a city. No, it's a street. It's a street. What's wrong? It's the Paris street in the city Saint-Albert. Who knows? What happened? The method call had too many parameters and you got tricked by the order and the semantics. I know IntelliJ displays you the name before the parameter. Okay, true. But then imagine 10 parameters. You will probably put them on different lines, right? Align them, nice. What the heck? The first thing you should think of when you have many parameters for a function is, obviously, isn't the function doing too many things? And you will take the knife and chop it into pieces, right? Then just imagine the function taking those 4 parameters, turning around and calling another function, adding 1 more parameter. Have you ever seen that? Yeah, it's a pleasure. What would you do that? Because that function doesn't do much. Just calls another function. What would you do then? You could try to introduce what is referred to as a parameter object, or a DTO, data transfer object, or value object. The point is a class with fields that you instantiate and you pass around to reduce the number of total parameters. I will probably make some address or full name, we will see in code quite soon. That's one option you can do. Another thing that might happen, but I would like you to, I will directly jump to code, why not? Let's start with this one because it's the more obvious. So you have place order, which takes fn and lm. By the way, this is L. You can figure out because it's higher than n. Not sure if you, right? Good. But you expect that because it's, by the way, to your surprise, I'm on IntelliJ now. Sorry. I've switched from, anyway. So, one thing you could try, seeing these many parameters, you see, whoa. Let's package them in some class. So what could you do? You could try to invent yourself a new class. I will write them here. Named, let's say, full name for start, which has some private final, because this is the best way of doing it, string, and you will be more generous this time. First name, right? And then probably last name. And then you need probably a constructor, of course. And then you need the getter, first name, and get last name. Good. Get last name. Perfect. There you go. This is my little class, full name, which has to be this public. Okay. And then instead of passing these two here, guess what I will do? I will say new full name, right? Grouping together bits of data that move together through my system. New full name. Then I will press what? It's red. What should I press? Alt Enter. But that's not right. But instead of this, I will just pass here what? Full name. Make sense? So I'm just packaging it together and passing the full name down. At which point here I should do full name dot get first name, and just to make things compile again, full name dot get last name. Perfect. And here is full name dot get first name, and this is full name dot get last name. Perfect. And I'm done, right? But if you would just do that, a new class for every single method call which has too many parameters, this would smell like over-engineering, right? I mean, what the heck? You're calling a method. You're creating a new class to call a method. Are you insane? What you should do next is to try to see how much code that new class can simplify. Meaning, you will search, full text search, everywhere, by first name. And you will see if you find first name anywhere else in your code base. And guess what? There's another method you didn't know about that takes first, last, and x. What would you do now? But you have to have guts to do that. This is way out of your trail. This is way out of just fixing your bug, right? This means touching other people's code. So what would you do here? Very simple, said full name, full name. Of course, with the necessary refactoring. It will take a while, but before that you do a commit, you have a coffee, relax, and then go. But then you see that the check, it's the same check. What the heck? What does this do, really? It requires that at least one of those are set. What could you do? Where? Remove it. Move it where? Move it in the new class. That's the point. Every class you create is a host, is a possible host for logic. So there you go. You can put this here, and there you go. You have some validation in your little value object. At which point you don't need it there. You don't need it here. However, you still need to check that the full name isn't null, right? Unfortunately, we are in Java. So Basically, you just have to do this both places, but there is no reason of duplicating the internal validation of the new value object. So you build a home for the poor code without a home. That's the point. But then you search again, because that's why I told you. You need to search again. And then you realize that there is this stuff. What is this stuff? Wait. Oh my God. Wait, could it be the holy entity? Oh my God. We are in the big game now. Wait a second. What do you mean? Holy, whoa. What could you do? Sip some more coffee and then put a candle here. Full name. Okay. And guess what? I'm just sketching stuff. Yes, I'm in GPA still. Okay, and full name, and then full name here. There you go, full name, and just assign this here. And guess what? There's duplication again that we can remove. Oh, hooray! So no more this for you. Equals null. So, in which place you will have to do a decision at this moment. This is full name. What do we do with, by the way, the setters and the constructor? Let's just kill these. But the getters are interesting. What would you do here? First of all, let's make a getter for the full name. And then, here is some code which uses the get first name and get last name of the holy entity. What can you do here? I will call my own getter. Do you guys know, folks, Narcissus? Narcissus, from Greek mythology, he fell in love with his own image in the lake. Narcissus likes his own posts. Narcissus call his own getters. But why am I doing this? Because at this moment, I will inline this. Almost here. Inline. Didn't work. Come on, get first name. No, it's wrong. I'm just looping around. Full name, you were laughing. What the heck are you doing? Get first name. Good. And then here is full name. Full name dot get last name. At which point, if you inline this getter, guess what you'll get? Yes, I know what I'm doing. Not quite. Get full name. Wait a second. Get full name. I'm calling my getter, right? And then get full name. And then I will inline this everywhere, and there you go. It could have been, let me prove it. Huh? Good. But yeah, this doesn't quite work like that, but you get the point. I will just kill the others, just leave these. Just to imagine that there is lots of code there, right? And what happened here? Whoa, full name, what would you do to me? Okay. And then destroy, what's happening? Someone is against me. There you go. And you will inline this one. And there you go. Everyone will now use the tick. But wait a second, what is this really? Get full name, get first name, plus, whoa. This is a logic that could fit in the value object, right? It's only getting data out of the poor full name. So what could I do? Public string, I don't know, as concatenated. How nice. This could have fit in a util method, right? But guess what? It has a home now. First name plus space. Brilliant. Plus, and I will stop now because it's obvious for you what happens here, right? You're smart fellows, you'll figure out. Concatenated will be called here. And actually, I can even do it. And I'll be a bit hipster now. Yeah, IntelliJ. This is one of the reasons I switched to IntelliJ, actually. Yeah, fun. Now, one other interesting example is what happens if you have, so that was what, it's all recorded, so you can look after again what the heck happened. It's okay. And by the way, we have a Git. I forgot to tell you, but at the end there will be a link to a Git repository. So this will be named encapsulate params. But I forgot to do one thing. I want to tell you, so suppose you want to simplify, where are you? This even more. Now, you will select all these. Look with one hand. Right click, refactor, extract. Didn't work. I have to put my two hands again. Extract. Oh my God. If they had the trouble to implement that It means it could be useful. So guess what? City, street name, street number, and that's it. It's an address. Oh my God, refactor. What the heck happened? Whoa, 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 whoa. Thank you, Lord. So imagine this is all the work that we just did. I mean, what the heck? One thing still I would address. I would take the pain of doing that. I will explain my code. Variable, please. Full name. There you go. So you imagine everywhere where the function was called, now there's this parameter object happening. Very cool. And I will let you dream on for the IntelliJ. Why? Okay, so now the next one. Let's see this example. This is a bit more production. We are validating. Let's suppose you are not using the annotation stuff, which can get you into a miserable hell. Well, let's say M1 validate, and we are giving a parameter and errors. Guess what happens inside? Add. Can you feel it? I mean, we are passing a parameter. Here you go. What does this fellow does? Adds to my parameter. What do you feel? I mean, you expected that. It's actually a pattern, let's say. But the fact of adding something to a parameter, to mutate the state of a parameter, is evil beyond reason. I mean, whoa. So then, guess what? And you figure out this method, but the code smell that you detect is not that, perhaps, but is the fact that there are too many parameters at M3. Notice the good names that I've chosen. And then file name, there are 4, too many. And then what do? You realize all of the methods in this class have a common parameter named errors. What would you do? First of all, I would like to clean a bit the code and move a bit up this parameter to have a common form. This changes the code everywhere where you used it. If the method M1 was called in many, many places, change signature will just change it everywhere. There you go. Now that I see clear that I have the common parameter, what can I do? I could do, by the way, you notice here, spring. Spring. And then, I should, whoa. Let me have some guts. Oh, what are you doing? Poor fellow. This is a singleton, my friend. What are you doing? You are putting state in a singleton? Where is Josh Long? Whoa, no, this is wrong. So then, whoa. Let's see. What would this allow me to do if I had guts? I could do this. Select everywhere and just delete the parameter. There you go. Now, everyone will be using the internal data structure, the internal state of this instance. Good. I will need still the getter. But please don't ever generate getters. Just GE. Right? Or GR, to be more specific. Get, just enter. Don't alt insert and generate all of them. No, just selectively one by one. And just here what happened. Well, this needs to disappear, of course. But since I have internal state, I can't possibly do this. I can't possibly do this. This should probably, as they recommend, to be injected to the constructor. But then, guess what? This will disappear. Oh, now, I can't possibly auto-wire. This can't be a singleton anymore. So what should I have to do? To use the word. First, it was the word. New. Whoa, but you guess what? If I chose to use the word, spring hachu will make me suffer. Why? Other dependency. What other dependency? I need to take this. I need to inject in me the dependencies of that guy. Whoa, this is weird. But because real life is not that simple. Real life is like that. Can you imagine what happens? Injecting there all the 4 dependencies needed for the class you want to instantiate? Oh my God. But for this simple example, it would kind of work. But again, I'm stepping out of the framework. I'm daring to take the red pill. And I'm doing new. And if I do this, I can use, again, OOP. I can have objects with state. It's not a singleton. I can instantiate it myself. Nice. This is nice. This is one other way, and I should push this. OP, hapchu. Now, this actually, folks, I don't have anything against Spring. I mean Spring for 15 years, but the point is, at times, it may pay to and to do OOP, right? What happens is I've grouped common parameters in fields of a real object. Now, let's talk about remove orders, customer, false true. How many things does this function do? Technically 4, right? But in practice it results in 3. Then the point is, when a function has a Boolean parameter, first of all, now, without asking, I know that none of you would have created a Boolean parameter up front. Just a new function gets born and you put a Boolean. You don't do that often directly from scratch. So the conclusion is the function has changed in time. Why did the developers add the Boolean parameter? Because the function was humongous, was huge, and they were scared about the function, and they put that if, if. So this function annoys developers because it changes and people are afraid of it. It is a perfect candidate to start refactoring. Now, in this regard, what would you do if customer could be null? You would check for null. Guess what? 2 more things. But wait. Where do I find corrupt data? Where do I find the null or negative ages or I don't know? Where the heck do I find those? And this leads us to null wars. Where do you find corrupt data? If you could build a fortress in which to hide the precious code, you will put inside all the business logic, and you will leave out all the sources of corrupt data. Even from database can come an uppercut. Spoof, null. Why? Because, update, set null. At the entry, you put the security check, defensive programming at the boundaries in order to gain trust inside the fortress. You don't need to roam the streets and, are you a null? Don't do that. The checks should be done at the boundaries. But what if from some place there's a null coming? What should the bodyguard do? Call the police. Throw exception. Out. Right? But now, do you know that null can have business meaning? Have you ever considered that? That's interesting. Null can mean something. For example, a customer with a null member card is a customer without a member card. In which case, what would you do? So set up what? Sell him a membership. Oh, you're a sales guy. Okay, no. If the null has meaning, you will wrap it in a box, in an optional. Suppose you get to work in the morning. At the entry of your house, there's a box. Inside, there might be a cat or not. So there you go. You make him wonder, what's that? That's the point. You don't just, here, there you go. There's a null. Don't return null. Now, we might end up, we might end up having getters that return optionals. And this, my friends, means game 1. This means you've eradicated the most frequent bug of all. Because if from the origin of the data in the holy entity come only optionals, possibly you can't you don't see null anymore, basically. Good. Now, what would you feel? It happened to us just now. If this method activated the customer, when you call it, it activates the customer. What do you feel? I mean, what the? Cheated, exactly. You feel cheated. That's the point. And you probably would. Okay, so the point is these are side effects which are necessary but can surprise the reader. So you don't want to shock him, right? Then what do? You make them obvious. 13 years ago, when I saw this method, I was like, young. The only thing that I could think of is at least say, check and activate customer. This is outrageous. This does 2 things. It screams to us. But check and activate customer, at least, mind your head for the next developer. Right? This actually takes us to an old principle from Bertrand Meyer, which says command query. Not CQRS, command query separation, CQS. If a method returns void, why would you ever call it? Well, for sure, not for the result, right? So you would call a method that returns void just for it to do some side effects. Make sense? So you want to. So basically, methods that return void are allowed to do side effects. But if a method returns you a result, ideally that method should not change anything in the world. Whoa. Okay, this is a guideline, not a rule. Right? It's but if possible, keep side effects at the boundaries and leave the center pure. Now, this leads us to pure function. A pure function is a function that has no side effects, nothing bad or nothing changes when you call it, and also is idempotent, meaning calling it twice with the same parameters gives us the same result. Working with pure functions is a pleasure. It's like holding a teddy bear. It's so warm, you know? I mean, you just call a method that returns. If something fails, you call it again. It's brilliant. So write as much business logic as possible as pure functions. So, not more than 3 parameters. No booleans, short methods, long names, no optionals, no how many rules, right? How many guidelines? Now, Uncle Bob says that even when he writes a function, they come out long and complicated, with a lot of indenting and nested loops. But then, ugly. But then he doesn't stop there. He massages and refines the code, splitting and cleaning and changing. And afterwards, I don't write them clean from the start. I don't think anyone could. This is super deep. So when you first write your code, it's a mess. And this leads us naturally to the hat metaphor from Ken Beck. Who of you know about the hat metaphor? Come on, hat metaphor. It's super deep, super deep. So I'm so glad few of you know it. First attitude that you have related to your code is the writing, in which you want to make it work as fast as possible. The typical thought is copy pasta, right? You just assemble the chaotic manner, right? Like in Dia de los Muertos, right? It's just writing code. But then you need to, after it works for the first time, someone smart said, at that moment you start investing in your career. Because at that moment you should lay back, put the detective hat, and look, what the heck is this code? Criticize your code, and then try to make it readable. See it through the eyes of your duck, at least. Right? Try to explain it, or at least try to read it again. So the first question that you should think of is, what can I delete for the code to still work? That's the driving question, right? But there is space for the third hat. And the third hat, my friends, is the gangster hat. You take out the machine gun and you try to kill your code. You technically try to break it. Now, what sort of a human being could you be to raise some code, and then stick a finger in his eye? Let me see. Do you resist that? And in his ear. What kind of sociopath could you be to just kill your own creation? Right? You just wrote it. What kind of animal? That's the third hat you need to learn to wear. People I heard actually wear physical hats to force themselves into such a mindset. It takes years of practice to be able to switch the attitude towards your code. It's very hard because it has to do with feelings, again, that you do have. OOP. If you read it backwards, it's POO. Do you ever miss struct? I do. Type def struct. It was a pleasure. All data lined up in memory. They are trying to do that in Java for years already. The data classes. Struct, beautiful. You can do struct in Java. That's one particular tasty one which has final fields, right? You just made one just now, right? Beautiful. Beautiful because if they are created valid, they remain valid, easier to debug, thread safe, and many other benefits. Very, 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 very. This is one thing you should try to do next day, tomorrow. Every final word you say, it should count as 0.01% at your annual raise. I'm kidding. But it's very healthy to do as much final fields as possible, and this will naturally lead us towards functional programming. I just want to quote something I heard yesterday. Pure function is what you want to do. Side effects are what you are being paid to do. Very nice talk from Russ Olson. So the point is, this will lead us naturally to a world of functional programming. But there is this other kind of, and again, the love remains with the immutable structure. But there is the other kind of data class. You know it, right? It has private fields and public getters and setters. Some people call it the object assembly language. You get it? Get set, get set, get set. This is not encapsulation. This is nothing less than a class with public fields, technically speaking. If you generate all the public fields, public getters and setters, why not make the public fields? I know, right? Sonar, Then OOP in one slide. Forgive me for doing it just one slide for OOP. If your car, I have an old car. When I am at the red light, next to me comes a Jeep. Right? That guy looks down at me. And while the engine of his car shuts down, you know, the start-stop cars, I am... Now, his car has 3 states, while mine has only 1, on, off. So basically, if my car exposed the engine start as a Boolean or as a setter, it couldn't change tomorrow. But if it only had a start engine, under the hood tomorrow, the state can be an enum with 3 values. Make sense? Without altering the API. Basic stuff. But my car, when it tells me something, it hides as much as possible. In my display, it doesn't say to me how many liters I have left or how many percentage fuel. No, it tells me how many kilometers can I still run. But you know why? Because my car, just as I do, hopes that tomorrow, when I will come to her, she will say, "My master, I am now hybrid," and will smile at me. If overnight, can you imagine such a miracle? You come to your car and it has a socket. Thank you, Lord, right? Imagine that. Now, if your API would be getting estimated remaining kilometers, the API shouldn't change, right? Doesn't need to change. It will display the same information based on battery plus fuel. So the point is that the implementation can change even if my API remains the same. That's the essence of OOP, to minimize the API. One reason to do that, clearly, is when you write your own library or framework. This smells like pride, huh? It's an old story. This is why actually 1.0 burns, right? Because if you know that tomorrow you will find a bug, you will beg the teams using your library to upgrade to 1.1. They will do that, and then their code will turn red. And what will they do then? Undo the change and stick to 1.0. And you see it. That's why you want to do OOP aggressively, extensively in libraries or frameworks. But also there's a more common usage of OOP now in day-to-day work. When you have a complex problem to implement, let's suppose some export files, right? You could create your own CSV writer class. Now, this is actually an abstraction over writing a CSV. It takes care of quotes, of semicolon, of carriage return or end line, UTF-opt or Unicode. Stuff that is hidden under a simple API. Divide et impera on complexity. That's one other reason to apply OOP. It's common reason, let's say. But then there's this question. Now, let's keep that. There's this question. There is this other kind of code out there, procedural code. You know? Procedural code, lots and lots and lots of procedural code. So then what do we do? How do we keep it simple? How do we keep lots of procedural code simple? One way to do it is to group logic into classes, which brings us to the famous order service. You know it? You all have it, huh? Customer service, user service. You all have it. I think 80% of your applications have a user service or customer service. Tell me, is this a data structure? No. Is this an object, encapsulation, information hiding? No. It's a container of functions, nothing more. It's a file full of functions. There you go. So basically, we use what the language gives us, classes, to group together similarly concerned functions and logic. And there we go. Then we get to this problem. We have the procedural paradigm, we have the OOP paradigm, and we have the functional programming paradigm. And people ask themselves, which is best? Huh? And they have the t-shirt. I'm a functional programming activist. I don't know. People were very passionate about one thing or the other. But and they ask questions. Which one should we use? My experience with this is I like all of them. In the sea of, now, forgive me for this slide. This is an overly simplified perception. But in a sea of procedural code that naturally results from the specifications that we get, we want to build islands here and there with OOP too. For those use cases which are more complex, those 20% complex use cases. But every now and then, we would also like to build some function, to use some functional programming. The functional program, at least in Java, is more concise, and that's one key reason, actually. Not immutability, reference, transparency, no. Shorter. Stream, map, collect, police. What the heck, it's one line, right? More concise. So I would use functional programming wherever it is simple and makes my code a bit more compact. If you want to do scalability and to want to send functions to Spark, again, functional programming works perfectly. And it's also a bit more easy to debug and apparently less bugs. However, debugging higher order functions in Java is a mess. If you ever did that, when you step into, you run in seven classes. It's insane. Oh, yes, just a bit more. Formatting and comments. Can you see the sunglasses? Focus. Folks, one key point. Who here has seen Matrix? Those of you who didn't, tomorrow, please do. Tonight, please do. Matrix is made by us, for us. It's a programmer movie. You have to see it. Sunglasses. Let me help you a bit. Give you a broader picture. It's apparent, right? Okay. Now it's the time. Wake up. You are not Neo. Wake up. In our project, it's all about teamwork. No one of you can make an entire project survive. It's all about teamwork. You don't need. We shouldn't be coding, encrypting your code. What did you do today? I encrypted some code. No, never. You need to communicate with the others. So remember, people will record your name when they click annotate. 10 times more than it took you to write, right? Write literature, the simplest possible code that works. Look, Da Vinci, for you to believe me. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. There is nothing more complex than to make a thing appear simple by taking the right decisions to go in the simplest approach to a problem. So write literature, children literature. And in case you have, one day you are full of energy, yes. Write a test. Invest there. Write a clean, dry, fast, non-overlapping, significant unit test. Or build a testing framework to wrap your project entirely. That's a super interesting approach. I mean, instead of slicing it very, 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 very thin with mocks, sometimes it's more mature to build a testing framework around it. James Coplin talks a lot about this. He has a famous paper about why most unit test is waste. It's a controversial paper, but it's very full of insights. Also, there was a famous, not contest, but let's say challenge between Uncle Bob and Sandro Mancuso. They both wrote code using TDD, Chicago School versus London School. At the end, Uncle Bob created basically an entire testing framework, a DSL testing framework. The code is available on GitHub publicly. Just Google TDD, Sandro Mancuso, Uncle Bob. It's amazing. Basically, he built a testing framework wrapping the REST calls completely, not mocking through it. Because if you test it around it, you can always refactor the internals without changing the external. Make sense? It's deep, it's very dense, but just Google. Do you remember the first day driving? Come on, so without an instructor. So. He lost me. There. You grab the wheel. You have 2 t-shirts with you. You know why. But you did the terrible mistake of taking your girlfriend with you. She's right next to you. Okay, so start the engine. Okay, give the signal. Okay, let's go. And then you have to turn left, right if you are from UK. And then your girlfriend turns on the radio. Stop it! You just can't take that other pressure more than the fact of turning left. You remember, right, those days, the first day you drove alone. Okay? Now, 10 years after, 1 foot is off the window. Cell phone, yeah, you're scratching your head, the car goes straight. What the heck? And then you change the gear with the elbow. Why? Because you've developed some reflexes. This is what you ought to do. How many of you know Mortal Kombat? Come on, Mortal Kombat. Many of you know those special kicks, right? So, for Christ's sake, master your IDE, learn those shortcuts. If you are on IntelliJ, install that plugin, Key Promoter X. I will give to you afterwards, or even in the break, I think it's easier, cheat sheets with shortcuts that you don't know, but you have to know. The point is to sharpen your reflexes, because when you fight the big guy, you shouldn't be looking for the gear shifter, right? Where is the steering wheel? No, you should be clear, pack. And why are you driving with 1 foot off the window? Because you know where the dangers come from. You develop some reflexes. This is what you need to do with your IDE also. I want to tell you a little poem I wrote myself. When it's red, yellow, blue, or gray, Alt Enter will save your day. Huh? But to be politically correct, let's rephrase it. Control 1 will save the day. Control dot will save the day. Get it? Get it? Get it? Is there any Eclipse user here? Still. Okay, Control 1. Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio. Control dot. Comments. To quote from the big guys, this is a refactoring. Martin Falkenbeck, December last year, 2nd edition. Approximate quote. The chapter was named Code Smells. And there was a section, the last section I think, named a comment. And they went like that, something like that. Not that we have something against comments, no. The comments give a nice floral scent to the code. The problem is that too often we saw it being used to cover other smells. Get it? So the point is you should express those comments in code as much as possible. So let's take some, oh my God. Some example code. List 1. For each int array x in the list, x0 equals 4, list1.add. Production code, huh? Go on. The one thing that annoys most of us is, what the heck is that 0? Why 0? 0, really? And what for? So we will extract constants. Then we will introduce useless variables named isFlagged. This variable is defined here, being used here, and then never ever used again. You will wonder, why the heck is that thing there? But I want you to think very, very warm about that if that starts here, has some Boolean test, and then end, and then enter. Remember? It's an if, enter. And, or, enter, or. And you have to click the parentheses. You know the game? Click the parentheses. Here, I will highlight the matching one. That's the game we used to play when we were kids. Huh? What I want you all to do starting tomorrow, when you find the if spanning more lines, you just don't think. You click in some condition, Alt-Shift-Up in Eclipse, Control-W in IntelliJ, expand selection to one expression of Boolean, extract a variable, and put a name, just like this. Just like a good book. In a good book, you first get to know the how's it called? The characters. So you introduce yourself to the wife, then the murderer. You introduce all the parties, and then at the climax you say, "Pak, if that or that and that, that's it." So respect your reader, respect the Boolean tests, and spend some more variables just to explain the code. Then you might go further and create objects. Oh my God, cell with a method is flagged. Can you figure out how much code is in that method? Status equals flagged. Semicolon. That's it. A method with half a line of code. You will do that because if you really type this code, IntelliJ will highlight 4. And you can press Alt-Enter and do a stream map filter, find source, whatever. So it's just one single line, technically speaking, in Java 8. So explanatory methods, and if you encapsulate a Boolean test, it plays very nicely with the filter method in Stream API. This plus the renaming and extracting is how I want you to document your code, not with some comments that people will forget. Now it's so obvious this is Minesweeper, right? It's just taking the cells which are flagged. If you look at that, what the heck, right? So by remorse, you would have put here some comments. I'm sorry. What I wanted to do here actually was that. So whenever you feel remorse and out of remorse, you want to drop a comment in the code, just take a walk, take a shower, slap yourself, and try to express in code. What do you think about this comment, register user? It appears in some method and some code. What should you do? Take below that comment and extract the method. That's it. Simple as that. What do you think about this comment? Loop overall enter and remove nudes. What do you think I am? Stupid? What the heck? It's obvious. So duh. But what do you think about this comment? Half of you laugh, half of you. This comment you will leave there. These are like, not here, right? Have you ever been to mountains in which on some mountain trail there is a cross? Do you know what that cross means? No, go back. Someone fell. Someone died there. So that's a comment after someone died. Now, with Java 8, if you jump on it, okay, learn the Stream API, learn it all, but don't use it all. But now, this is Java 8. Don't ever have these symbols. What does this mean? I keep saying that. If you do find in text everywhere this token, you should find 0 matches. 0 matches. Why? Because this is a lambda followed by some code. Every bunch of code deserves a name. You don't just let your child be named $lambda1. What the heck? You put a name, right? You extract these 4 dots and you reference the method. Adopt the optional. Learn about the map or even the flat map. I had that talk last year. That was here. With functional design patterns. I gave a coding example there. Now, the point is to find to ask for review, or even better, work together. Whenever you learn something new, that's something from apprenticeship patterns. There's an incredible book, Apprenticeship Patterns, which actually has a topic named Learn in the Open. Meaning that when you learn something new, suppose you learn Kotlin or Scala, I don't know, learn it in the open space half an hour and embarrass yourself in front of the others. That's a deep one. Embarrass yourself to let the others see that you are struggling to learn something new. Learn in the open. Show the pain of learning. Super deep. Key points. Stop refactor equals start legacy. Drink to that. Whenever you stop refactor the code, it will never be easier than today to clean it up. refine expressive names continuously, short methods. All classes in Java can be of 3 types: data structures, objects, or logic containers. Realize that there are 3 kinds of classes. 3. Formatting and comments. Comments are usually a sign of lack of expressiveness. You can usually make it better by looking for names. Try to explain that to your duck. You have a duck? Rubber duck programming? Oh, come on. I will show you a picture after the break. I want to Google it. It's in Amsterdam. The Clean Code store. I will show you. There is a store. No, I will after the break. And pair programming is the way. Now, this is actually from a friend of mine. What can I do to make refactoring happen each day in my team? I want you all to think of this. I mean, now will be a lot of good talks tomorrow, the day after. Okay, re-watch this or re-go to the materials. Put a memento for yourself 2 weeks from now. And ask your team together, brainstorm. What can we do to make everyone refactor every day? As there's a lot of things the teams that I trained told me. We lack time. We lack tests. We lack confidence. We lack a direction. Remember the 1-hour time-boxed mob refactoring session? We lack the skills. We don't know where the gear shifter is. I need to look at the turometer, speedometer, how is it called, to know when to change gears. Come on, after 1 year, you hear the engine, right? So basically, learn those things. Now, interesting, very interesting, but how the heck do I apply all this in my legacy code? Now, one question I need to check with you. How many of you are working on code bases which are older than 5 years? Raise your hand. That's why you're here, huh? Perfect. So beautiful, exquisite, but how the heck do I do this? And I want you to imagine yourself going to a karate club. So your first day, you go. What will sensei do? It will put you to fight with the black belt? Only if he wants to wipe the floor. Perhaps, who knows what kind of sensei you have. But technically, normally, it will put you to fight with someone with equal strength, with a white belt, with a yellow belt, right? To get you started. If you've never refactored code, if you don't know how to extract a method, how to inline a variable, if you don't know where the gear shifter is, what chance do you stand against the legacy code? You slap it? What do you want? There you go, 20 bucks. It kills you, right? It wipes the floor with you. So you need to practice. And of course, books. Clean Code Refactoring. And this is an interesting book, lesser known, but very good for starting the journey towards craftsmanship and clean code, with 70 examples of before and after explaining the code. Very interesting for startups, very interesting. But again, clean code requires, after all, discipline. It's not a framework, it's a mindset, right? It has to do with emotions, listening to your emotions. It has to do with the teamwork, it has to do with the attitude. Discipline. Do you know what this guy is doing here? Kata, a coding kata, hiya! He's completely alone. He's coding a stupid problem by himself. He does 100 times. Why? Because he wants to practice that when you hit with your fist needs to rotate to increase the kinetic. I don't know how you call it, to hurt more. He does that 100 times, right? Extract method, extract method, extract method, extract method, 100 times just to feel the point. Look, no rush. Look. Perfection, look here. Right? Just analyzing and in a safe environment. Look, there is no bug here. There is no Jira here. No, it's practicing in a safe environment. And I want you to think for yourself, when was the last time you literally looked and think of how you write code? Not how you fix the bug, how you write code. Right? I want you to start practicing. Maybe not every day, although maybe weekly, half an hour. What the heck? Half an hour of your time, invest in reflecting on how you work. You know, these guys, 2 guys are facing in karate and they're hitting. They don't actually touch each other. They are doing pair programming. Practice that. When you face a big guy, what would you do? Ideally, you should take your colleague and you would say to him, you hold it, I kick him. Technically, this is how I initially enjoyed pair programming. When I faced a difficult problem, I needed psychological help. When the problem of, how to say it, squashes you, it's too big for you, you need someone there with you, right? He could just be sitting like that. You will have more courage, right? These are actually doing a coding dojo. Oh my God, 4 to 10 people, 1.5 hours every 2 weeks on these 3 kinds of coding katas, like refactoring, which one of it we will do after the break, TDD, and then maybe some legacy. This is not your legacy. This is some synthetic exercises that you can practice. There is a famous book. It's called Coding Dojo Handbook by Emily Bakke. I recommend it to everyone to practice. There are a set of exercises you can practice. And try to solve every problem in as many possible ways you can. It's time for the break. But the break should be 20 minutes. Okay? 20 minutes. This leaves us what? 1 hour and 10 minutes for the second part, right? I hope I'm not messing stuff up. 20 minutes, 1 hour and 20. No. So 20 minutes break now, but just to anticipate a bit because I want to reduce the noise at the end. If you want to, I brought you stickers, of course. And the shortcut cheat sheet. You can find editable PowerPoint that you can print yourself if you prefer to do it in Mac. This is Windows, unfortunately. It is printed on 2 sides. One in IntelliJ, the other is Eclipse. And if you want to have such a thing, I'll invite you here while the break. So, break until 10 minutes past 3, okay? If you have questions, come here. If you want stickers, come here. But please do take just 1 sticker because you are so many, okay? So, break, 20 minutes, come on. Hi. Since you are all here, why waiting, right? Why wait some more? So let's do this. Someone actually, so the points that were brought to me during the little break, someone asked about having interfaces in front of classes in Spring as being maybe required. Since Spring 2.5 it's not, but the point is I have a talk explaining very in-depth about this at JPoint this year. Also, just to be clear, when I have a getter in an entity which returns an optional of member card, the field is still member card. Just to be clear, the field type should not be optional of member card. It's null, but I only expose it as of nullable. The slides of the talk will be uploaded afterwards, right after. And one thing interesting that I found, someone told me, keep your tests moist. Not dry as a rock, not wet as the rain, moist. So loss of duplication, very good one, very good one. And this is the link I promised. It is actually a gist of some discussions around the, and also contains the links for the Git repository on which both of them submitted the code. And the example that I want you to do is, in case you have this big ugly method, very, 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 very fast. So we will move fast because it's devil. You are among the best. So. Big ugly method. You want to do here some more code. Wait a second. What would you do? Imagine big, right? Big. What would you do? Well, only when you call this function here, I want you to do. I want it to do also this too. For user story 333. What do you do? Well. One thing you could do is put an if. Excellent. Change request 323, and then you put it like this, and then you do what? It's red. What do you do? Alt enter. Thank you. And it says, do you want me to create the parameter? Yes, I do. And by default, should it be false by any means? Please do. Now, imagine here. Now, I want you to look there up, right? When I will click refactor, this could be in many places in my code. I just click refactor, false. But when I call it, I come like Gandalf, and I say, oh, true. Because I am the chosen one. Right? And then guess what? Some other fellow developer will come and say, and things will go out of hand. The broken window metaphor, right? So, what would you do? Well, let's use the, do you know, what? Extracting methods, but first, let's use the most powerful tool you have in your ID. Do you know which one is it? Zoro, Control or Command Z. We will undo. We will step on our pride, and we will undo the crap we just wrote. Good. But I showed you a way to do things professionally, right? Just change meta signature, poof, everywhere false, and I come through. But let's do it otherwise. Now, one thing that I could do is to take this out as a method, right? So let's make this a method. Extract method named very, very obviously pre. Obviously. Excellent. If you see this window, but you don't know why you see it, always press keep. There is no setting yet, I know, in IntelliJ that allows you to do by default to hide that dialogue. That dialogue is sometimes evil. It might extract code that you didn't knew about that. By expanding the signature, it's very weird. And if you don't know the code which that dialogue talks about, just press keep, trust me. So you have this method. Now, what could you do? Well, there's one thing you could do. You could apply the oldest design pattern in the world. Duplicate, excellent. Duplicate and say, very good name, 323. Perfect. Now, this one never calls this method, right? So I will wipe it out. But this one lets the new code in. And instead of passing a boolean everywhere, I will just type here elegantly. Now, folks, I'm messing with you. I won't name 323, right? But the point is, I can avoid adding a boolean by simply, and that's the point that someone from the audience suggested. When you want to avoid adding a boolean, you will end up duplicating a bit of code, but you will duplicate, in this case, 2 method calls. So what? You will duplicate something, but just let it be a small part. So I will tolerate a bit of duplication if I gain the fact that I don't couple the use cases together. I have 2 different methods now, one for my 323, one for the old method. Make sense? So indeed, avoiding a boolean might require duplicating stuff, but reduce the duplication by extracting methods. But that was a trivial example. Should we go for the boss level? There you go. Yes. Yay! Now we are talking. That's good. Now, we didn't yet start the kata, but just let's think. What could you do here? Oh my God. I want here to do something else when I call the function. Oh my God. I can't just take this and extract. It doesn't work. You know? So then what the heck? What can I do? Well, you could first. Again, the problem is that this function compared to the previous one is very deeply nested. So what could you do? You could eliminate the nesting, meaning I will do something incredibly weird. I will start with duplicating the method. Why do I do this? Because this method, I want it to be boss level stuff. This is boss level no stuff. No stuff will have stuff equals to false. True? I mean, false. You get the point. So if false, this is stupid, right? Even Sonar will complain. So I will cut it out. There you go. Then this parameter becomes useless, right? I will just wipe out the parameter. Make sense? Now, there above, there is stuff. If this always has stuff, it means this is true. This is silly, of course. So I will destroy the if, and always the body always happens. But again, I don't need stuff here. Guess what? I reduce the indentation with 1. Good. And we will continue doing that. It remains some code there, agree. But let's continue. Let's say this is, the first one is stuff fluff. Excellent. This is true. And guess what? This can be deleted. If you have IntelliJ configured good, not like I do, it will be grayed out. And you can it will shout to you, shouldn't I delete the field? Okay, thank you. Print, what's that? Unreachable statement. Oh, good, delete. Oh, great, delete, right? This is how Bianca does it, my usual pair. She likes the mouse. No problem. Okay. Now, this is no fluff. No, this is, so this is stuff fluff. This is, wait a second, this is stuff. And what if I have no fluff? No fluff means this becomes false. False means this disappears completely. Stuff, no fluff. Mwah, perfect. Next one. Let's try to do the next one. If stuff's different than null, then if you enter this method, abandon all hope. Meaning that you have to stick in your mind the fact that an else will follow. What could you do otherwise? You could flip the if. Let me show you. Alt enter. What's wrong? Invert. Brilliant. Now guess what? We can reduce the number, the depth of the method by just deleting the else here. Make sense? Okay. There you go. And then guess what could happen next? Now the reader, how does it read this? If task equal no return -1. Perfect. Like C, the C times. No? Then system out print the no. Okay, good. Now it will come something weird for you perhaps. When I will duplicate this, and I will say 323, I will allow the 4 to be duplicated. But we will get to that more in depth, perhaps, if we have time, when we do the actual coding kata. I just wanted to sketch the work with booleans. There you go. And let's get to the famous, it's a variation. It's a variation of the famous video store. I didn't find any other. Now, for all of you out there, coaches or extreme programming coaches or agile coaches, if you want to do with your team something interesting, do this kata. It's amazingly filled of stuff. Now, it's a bit of variation because you see, this is a refactoring kata, meaning that surprisingly we have a unit test, not like production. And this unit test will hold you. You are safe, my baby. You are safe. Whatever you do, this test will guarantee you don't mess up things. And the fact, the point of the refactoring type of kata is that you will blindly trust the test. The test is supposed to cover everything, so it will cut out fear. It will destroy fear from your heart. So we have movie and customer. Let's start. We have two classes. One is small, one is big. If you were in production, you will not hesitate to tackle the big one. But if you would be practicing karate, how does a karate lesson start? What's this? Warming up. So, in a normal practicing mindset, you will start with the simple one. Very easy. Shift F6. Or Shift F6, Control Alt M, or the equivalent. These are the two weapons you always have in hand. You don't think, it's what the underscore, what the heck? It's grayed out. If it's gray, Alt Enter, get. Yes, thank you. Bye-bye. Get title, get price code. Good enough. Integer. With a big I. And trust me, here on the big I, it's not love. Ooh, the first thing you could think, is null a valid option for this field? Well, you could look around and you might see that at this line, if it's not null, and honestly speaking, price code null. Okay, in normal production, you will look some more. But if I am practicing, the point is try to put it in. What would this mean? That no one will be ever allowed to pass me a null, which is good. Just out of a twist, I can remove null completely. Don't just propagate the null. What you're carrying? A null. Don't do that. Crash at the first point you see it, right? Well, pretty good there. This doesn't make any sense. Good. Let's destroy this. I think I should use delete. Okay. Hey, look. Wow. Ooh, interesting. Then let's analyze the big one, because the movie is kind of done. I mean, I don't see much more to do here. It's, I do have. Wait. Let's use the hipster one. Final. Excellent. So remember, 0.1% raise. Customer. Now let's start with this one. What's here? It's a map. You can change the type. What is the type? Type. I don't get it. Wait. Yeah. In the movie. What's here? What's this? What should I do here? Oh, perfect. How do you check that? Well, you will see first of all where it's being used. Okay. And then you will see maybe this children's. Yeah, let's see. Oh, this gets as a parameter to the constructor. Whoa, this constructor takes an int. Whoa, those children in regular and new release is an int. Wait a second. If this is so, what will stop some evil developer? Just kidding. But to stop them, of course, we will build an enum. You could put it next to this class, or you can burn it in. Enum. If I do movie type, this is a bit of redundant, right? I'll just name it type. And I will put children, regular, and new release. In normal production, you will check if these numbers are useful or not. If there are, you will pass them like that. In my case, they are not useful. So now, basically, at this point, I should commit, really. Jesus-driven development. And I will say, oh my God, what's next? Whoa. Let's see. Well, this should, now I will do a big bang, because it's hard otherwise. We will just kill this. We will click on this. Type migration. You didn't know that. Type. Refactor. Oh, look. Everywhere. Good. Now, in customer test, what happens here? This is movie dot. How do you do that? Good. And then movie children. Folks, I'm hoping release and children is C. Really? Let's get there first. This is a syntactic sugar. In Java, if you switch on an enum, you don't ever need to repeat the name. The name of the enum is syntactic sugar. It saves you. Type dot. Good. And then we run the tests. You are good, my friend. You are good. Okay, boom, good. This was a big bang. Quite nasty. Enum. Well, I will try to do as much commits as I can, but just before that, I will just need to hack this. And then let's get with the big one. Whoa, what's this? Customer of a name, this name, so this can be found out, of course. Actually, if you take the name through the constructor, it doesn't have much of a sense to hack it later with the setter. But in this case, there was no setter, so good for me. Whoa, okay, this is good. Add rental. Okay. If D less than 0, what the heck is D? Then put in the rentals map a movie and an integer. Wow. And this is rentals. Oh my God. Rentals. Movie and rental. Okay. What happens next? Somewhere below, whoa, what's this? Iterator. Old school. Now, first thing you want to do is to make space visually to group together. What would you do with an iterator? Iterate, excellent, bingo. So, and you look down and you see that, oh, wait. Shadowing a void, whoa. Who would do that? But first we will use the most dangerous refactor in the world, moving lines. I will move lines, I will group the lines together. And as soon as I do that, IntelliJ wakes up and says, wait a second, what are you doing? Should I replace with for each? Please do. Brilliant, excellent. Now, each equals movie. Now, inline, fuck that, movie. Now, if you didn't know inline, what would you do here? Whoa, You would forget where you are heading, right? Google Maps will tell you, head south. So then I will inline this, simple as that. It took me half a second. Then this dot, what's that? This is narcissism, folks. No more this dot. This dot, what the heck is this? No. Okay, so then result, and then rentals, key set, movie, this amount, determine amount. I know what you're thinking. Kill it. I won't yet. I first want to realize what happens here. I'm iterating over the rental, and then guess what I'm doing? I'm getting the what dir? Add bonus for a 2-day new release rental. Wait a second. 2-day. 1. It's a new release indeed. And if you see the parentheses, look. Yes, I clicked the parentheses, you see it? And what do you do here? You do an extract what? Variable. And you press here, you do expand selection. And there you go. B. Perfect name. Is new release. Good. Now, if it's a new release, good. And if for a 2-day rental, what is the days rented? There you go. What do you do next? Exactly. So don't ever hesitate. A local variable which has a good name can save lives, folks. And rented. Good. And now days rented, way better. And then guess what? Larger than 1. But it was 2. Yeah, but days rented is an integer. Now comes the fun part. Let's do exactly. Why? This is a super interesting part. The domain-driven guy, folks, will be very happy. I'm aligning the code with the specification. The 2 in the spec appears in the freaking code, right? It's there. Good. Because they will change it tomorrow to change it from 2 days to 3 days. You will search for 2. Right? That's you tomorrow. And now, if we extracted the if, now of course put a bracket because who knows who comes from Python. And then let's see next, a string value of what the heck is this? Okay, 1 line, good. Add footer lines. But let's first, it's too much clutter. Let's first take out the switch, shall we? Let's do this. Extract method, yes! It says it requires a movie, this amount, and days rented. 3 parameters. Can I do better than that? Let's think. What the heck happens here? I'm putting in a map some values, and then I'm getting them back. Look, I'm iterating over key set, and I'm getting it from the map. You see what I mean? If you have Sonar configured in a certain way, it will tell you, you could iterate over entry set. The code looks worse if you do that. But the point is, if you are putting in a map and then you are taking all entries out, what the heck are you doing? You are avoiding to create types. You just didn't dare to create the class named rental. Why? Look, rental has 2 fields. Realize that? That's amazing. Many maps, and I had this in production many times. I was using maps because it was very easy. Look, map. And I was having map of something to map of something. I don't know, what the heck? So, right? Think JSON. And private final, what's that? It's a movie. So you have to have guts to create, to design, right? Oh, yeah. Int days rented, and then you do this. Okay. Oh, there we go. And then everything that gets born on this world gets born in private. So I won't make getters yet for them, unless they are really necessary. Instead of a map of a movie to integer, I will have a list of rental. Good. Which is linked hash. What the? Good. Array list. Good. And then instead of doing here put, I will do add of what? Of a new release rental. Sorry. Rental of M&D. What the heck? And if D is less than 0, throw. Perfect. This is a perfect thing to bury here. And with D, pretty more reasonable name, of course. There you go. And then you have rentals, and you iterate over rentals. And if you iterate over a rental, it will give you a rent. The wrong option happens all the time. Change to be rental. And then, without much of a thinking, Shift F6 will tell you, shouldn't this be named rental, please? Thank you. Okay. Now, most of these things work as well in both, now, in this place, work in IntelliJ and Eclipse. This is where I need to get the days rented out. So, get days rented. There you go. And get days rented. There you go. And then get price code. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's this? This is actually the movie. Rental.get. I don't have a getter. Okay, get movie. Okay. And, okay. And get price code. This is from the get movie. Okay. And get movie. This is way out of your requirement. Then it's you're okay. Good. And then let's move on. What if I could force this to become a rental? Whoa. To have the guts to do that, it will mean that that other guy could give me directly. Honestly, I did never try this, but I will try this live with you. What if I do add here the rental in the rentals? Rentals dot. And what if I call here add? If I inline the add rental, will it know? I'm not sure. Add rental. Will it know? Let's see. Inline. Woo! Good job. Everywhere. Nice. So just knowing, honestly, I never did that before. Just knowing the way to go, you can drive with your ID. Just knowing how to start, you can go half the way with Alt-Enter. The seniors of you know what I mean. Okay, and then name equals. So yeah, perfect. I iterate over rentals, and I determine the amounts for each line. So let's kill the switch. Let's move it out. Days rental. Now, one thing very easy to understand. This switch, if I extract the blue block needs to get in this amount, needs the days rented, and also needs the rental from above. In the blue block, I need three things from the context of which I extract. Imagine 3 strings, what can I do? One thing I could do, since I'm passing in the blue block the rental anyway, is to let the blue block, this one, call the get days rented itself. Make sense? So I will inline this. Good. I will try to extract again. Only 2 parameters, see? Which is good. I will name it. But before I go any further, I look, hey, wait a second, let's extract it. Sometimes you do that because you don't see all the implications. You tentatively, but before you do that, you commit. Let's try. Let's play. Okay, now extract this, and you will see that this amount is given as a parameter, and guess what? What value is always here? 0. So undo. Step on your pride. Let's try again. What if I take this with me? Only 1 parameter. Nice. So you see, by playing with the selection block, I can control how many parameters I will take. Get this amount. Get G. Get this amount. Let me. How do I do this now? Mario Fusco. Yeah. When you cannot find a good name for a thing, choose a Welsh one. So, better. And then let's see, this amount equals this amount. Really, this amount. What is this amount? This amount is added to total amount. Obvious. And total amount is your amount. What can you owe? Can you owe potatoes? Can you owe a liver? You owe? jQuery, exactly. You owe money. So then, This is actually what? Price. Aha! At that moment, you will aggressively say total price. But you won't stop there. You will do Control-Shift-F, and you will search, where are you? This, just don't tell me this price. Please. Price. Again, where are you? Where are you? Opa. Aha. Aha. You. Price. Perfect. Again. This is a string. I can't change this, but we're fine. This is why it was named amounts, right? Because, yeah, in the specification, they copy-pasted. They didn't think it was the amount. They put the amount here, and there I go. Refusing your power. At that moment, I will very happily destroy. I made the comment redundant. You see it? At which point I need to come back, because I want to commit. I will name it how? Shift F6. All the IntelliJ developers walk on the street like this. You can recognize them. Eclipse ones don't. Alt-Shift-R. IntelliJ. What the heck? The option. USA. Compute price. Just not get price. Bake price. Make price. Generate price. What is it now? Compute, calculate. Five options before you name something. Calculate price. Perfect. Good. And then price equals calculate price of rental. Obvious. And then add frequent renter points. Frequent renter points plus plus. Sometimes plus plus again. Quick. You come with me. Then we say add a frequent renter point. You see how much I spent typing this name. And when I look at what I got back, I'm disappointed. I typed 20 characters just to find out that I did a mess. What the heck is this? Have you seen Forrest Gump when he played ping pong at the wall? What the heck is this? This time, let's take another path. What could you do? You look inside and you see it does plus plus, sometimes plus plus again. This is not a simple move, but you can think of this. You can make this method not change something it gets. Technically, it didn't change the integer. It returned one back, but it feels like it changed what it came in. You can make it more pure, forgive me, not exactly the concept, but by returning what? The delta. What needs to be added to the other value? Meaning, good. And then if I do that, I don't need to take this, but this will become an int, and this will be 0 here. And this, since this is, it's grayed out. There you go, it disappeared from here. Perfect. And then add frequent renter points. Oh, let's run the test. Eek. I ran the test because I heard you. Oops. And then you click here in great despair just to see that you messed up the frequent renter points. And you are right, I forgot to put here 1. You run again and it feels warm, isn't it? You're good, my baby, you're good. The tests keep you safe. You can't imagine how it feels when you are relieved of the fear. And then this is obvious. Add, okay, add. And so honestly, is this add anymore? Doesn't add anything. Is it what? Compute. No compute. Bake. No. Make. Infer. Calculate. Consistency. Very well. Calculate. Of course. Don't invent 7 words just to kill the poor reader. Calculate. Perfect. Good. You notice how I obsessively, compulsively run the tests. Right? Good. And then add bonus for a 2-day new release renter. Really? Redundant, you see? You make the clear, explicit itself. There you go. Perfect. Whew. Hey, it goes well. Let's go further on. A string value of, really? Okay. And then plus and then show figures. Of course, you are all looking at this now. I will dare to say something that I might be sued for, but let's press Alt-Enter. This is what I taught you, right? Or should I do this? How does this look? Is it better? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Let's hover the mouse. Now, this is a famous interview question. The only thing that poor fellow understands about performance is to ask us about string builder and string concatenation in a for loop. I would dare to say something bold now. This is stupid, really. String builder only makes sense in case you have, I don't know, more than 1,000 elements in a list. How many movies do you think a customer can rent at once? 5, 10, what the heck? Iterating over them. Technically speaking, Java might not even loop. Can unroll the looping, can destroy the for and avoid jumps to take advantage of the look-ahead execution in CPUs. So technically, the for might not exist in assembly code. It's weird, but it is so. So, it only pays for more than, let's say, 1,000 elements. But I want you to ask your interviewer, my friend, why are you concatenating 1,000 things in memory? Do you like working with a 50 megabyte string? Can you imagine the face of your garbage collector when it sees an object contiguous of 50 million bytes? So, what you should do with your interviewer is this how you write code in this company? Passing in a 50 megabyte string. Are you sure you do that? If it says yes, you leave. The art of leaving the interview, the art of counterattacking. What you should propose him? Pass in a writer. And flash the content as you write it on the disk, on the socket, on the database, on the club, whatever. Flush it out of memory. Don't just pile up stuff. So this, my friend, I'm sorry, but disable inspection. It hurts, I know. There are places in which this pays, but not in my... Okay. Okay, good result equal... Oh, narcissism. Great. I missed that. Hey, good. Hey, the getter is no longer used. Don't hesitate. Perfect. Name, record name. Oh, add footer lines. Perfect. This is easy. Extracts, and it is named add footer lines. Excellent. And then you wonder, what the heck am I doing? Not again. So what would you do here? Plus. It's plus. Okay. Good. And then you do fix the stuff, meaning that result equals. And then it's a string. And then I want to touch on something. The habit that I saw in some teams to put final here. And always debatable, and always something that you are very attached to, because has no real value. Really. No, it is so superficial that many people are very passionate about this topic. Should we put final here or not? I want you to see something. Why would you put final there? To avoid what? The method changing that value, right? Let's undo a bit to show what I mean. Whenever you change the parameter gets highlighted. So, what if I never do that? What if let's force a bit forward. Return this, and then I will just concatenate with this. And then that's it. In this case, look, it's no longer highlighted. Why? Because you never assign it again. So IntelliJ does that for you. So why cluttering your code with final? I know. There are people very enthusiastic about putting final. Go ahead if you like. But personally, if I do that, I will say plus equals, and I will run the tests. Green, running, green. You're good. In which case, this is not add, right? This is how. Yeah, okay, I wouldn't do calculate, come on. Nah, but calculate, footer, really? No. Come on, words. Create is too vague. Generate seems like you're playing the... format is a nice word, although kind of too much. Write, create, vague, generate, I don't know. Format. This time I'll go with format. Okay, format. And guess what? This comment is redundant. Kill it. Good. Format footer. And if we have a footer, we should have a header. Format header. I will extract half a line. You might be laughing. What the heck is he doing? Yes, half a line. Why? Because I want to have this method on a certain level of abstraction. At which place, the only color in this method which annoys me is this. Do you feel this line doesn't belong there? It's the only line still working with strings. Have you ever washed your socks by hand? You should have, at least once in your life. Come on. You don't wash your socks in your living room. No, not good. No. Let me rephrase. I don't have. This is the problem with the cultural difference. I'm not sure what example should I give you at this point. Doesn't belong there. It's too low level. Okay. Algorithm for determining the price of during Black Friday. Right next to try with resources, file, open file, IO exception, read line /new. Doesn't belong. One is very high level, one is very low level. This is on a different level of abstraction. So what should I do? Extract method. Very well. You're quick learners. And I will name it show figures. No. Format. Rental body. But it's not a body because it's footer header, but it's a body line. You take all the possible opportunities to explain as much as possible. But as you see, we learn the code as we refactor. We don't just study the code. No, we are there in the code, digging our way, learning and refactoring. This is how you should work, right? Okay, show figures for this rental, and with great satisfaction, delete. There you go. Format body line. Perfect. No one noticed the name of the method. Statement what? Which this time is obvious, right? It is format statement. Right? Obvious. Format header, format footer, format header. Format statement. We still have a lot to do. However, this kind of wraps up the reflex behavior, the reflexes we didn't think that much until now, for the past 15 minutes at least. But now comes the fun part. There are two possible ways. Here, just look at this method. What does it do? It takes a rental, and it starts asking the rental, give me the movie. Rental, give me the day's rental. Rental. Just leave me alone for Christ. In what class is this? Sorry, in this customer Java. Does it have anything to do with the customer? No. It has to do with the state in the rental, right? What should I do? Move it to the rental. This is called this feature envy. Very important to put names to the code smells you faced. If you've ever saw any movie with some bad spirits, you have to put the name. Fight them. That's old school. The point is, I want to move this method in the rental. Move! Do you like to move it in the rental? And at this point, I was first terrified. At first, honestly, sorry for the woohoo. Again, F6. When I saw this dialog first, I got scared. No, not that. Why would you know to move in the rental? What the heck? How could the IDE, this works in Eclipse too, how would it know to move it in rental? Exactly. But then I'll put public here and then refactor. And guess what? It moved it in the where are you? It's calculate render point. It is in the it's an inner class. That's why. Okay, let's make it public, right? And then it's red. Alt enter. Move to rental Java. There you go. And then you have the renter next to you. There you go, more respectfully. Right? And then calculate the renter point. Now, there is a sign of narcissism here and there, but we will fix this in a second. Good. Next thing, can you spot another place in which feature envy happens? Rental, give me the movie. Rental, give me. So, whoa, F6, out. Because it has nothing to do with the customer. Calculate price is just now in the rental. Guess what? This is inline. But if I do inline all these places, my fingers will hurt, right? So what will I do? I will do again the hipster stuff. Look, Ma, I have multiple one second. I have multiple cursors. La, 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 la. If you master this one, you can... There you go. It took me 2 seconds, right? And then back to the customer. Would you tell me another example of feature envy here? But wait, I want to ask you something else first. That's a tricky one. Can I delete any other line from this block of code? Well, some teams told me, yes, we can. We can do this. Never do that. Just to be sure, never. Never. But what other line can you delete? Wait. We will do that. We will do that. It's perfect, but slow. Wait. Now, the teams normally try to delete this line. Doesn't work. Try to delete this line. Doesn't work. And they just end up focusing on this only line that you can. What would it mean to inline this variable? It will mean to copy this expression both here and here. What would be the problem? 3 problems. What could be the problem in this case? First of all. And what? Yes, we'll call twice. The problems. If the computation is very expensive, it will hurt us. Performance. Second problem. We will see about that. If the function returns different values, it won't work. Right? Thus, if the function is not idempotent, that weird word right on the slide, if the function is not idempotent, it won't possibly be correct. And the third one, the most horrible one, if the function inserts a line in the database. That's the end, my friend. Call it twice, they have 2 lines. But now it does just what? A switch. Can any of you approximate how much computer CPU cycles does it take to execute this method? There is, at most, the fingers of a hand. Has to do with compiler optimizations, look-ahead execution, hardcore stuff. But technically speaking, this, you can't possibly measure the execution time of this. It's 100 times less than invoking current time millis. Okay. So what would you do in this case? Because it is very fast, idempotent, and no side effects, you could inline the price. And now you can see the power of having pure functions. You can repeat the call. There you go. At which moment you would look at this line and you will figure out, wait, can I simplify this a bit? I will tell you now, I will extract again. It sounds very weird. I will limit again format, but I will be glad that there is only one parameter that I need. I will name it format body line. Extract it, go there, and guess what? Kill this one. You see how you juggle with refactorings? If you know what you can do with your tool, just by safe moves, I never backspace, Control X, never. I'm just working with the IDE. I couldn't there was actually, if you look very carefully at the replay, there were 3 places in the entire kata in which I went off the IDE. The rest of the moves are almost entirely safe. The tests are almost redundant, although they caught a bug, right? Good, now, in this method, it's hard to remove, but we will in a second. But first, I want to ask you, do you see any other example of feature envy in this class? This one. Should I move this in rental? What is the oldest design pattern known in history? 3 letters. Come on. I'm kidding. No, they are very weird. But of course, it's an abbreviation, but it starts with M. MVC, very well. Model view controller. What the heck of a concern is this? View. View. It's a view. Doesn't have anything to do in the holy entity. So then what do? You don't push it there. Actually, you realize, where the heck am I? Whoa, I'm in the entity. Why would I do it in the entity? At which moment you would like to extract this out. We will take this out, this out, this out, but you will also take the general with you. Get the point? No. Your work is later. Okay, we will move this. Unfortunately, to my knowledge, there is no extract class. That's why, look how I do it. I will make a public static class statement formatter, which we chose today. Nested class, here, right in front of my eyes. Now, this it sounds a bit silly, but in real life it's super useful, because in normal life you are probably extracting from a service of some sort. In which case, when this goes red, what you will normally do, you will duplicate a line and move it inside. Let me give you a hint. Wait a second. Hapchu. Right? This is very useful to break up classes in service classes in Spring. But then, look, technically speaking, I want to fix this to compile, and then I will move it up, because I know by pressing F6 it will move to another file in 1 second. So I will forge it like this. Rentals. Where do rentals come from? Where do rentals come from? Some teams, which are very eager of doing OOP, when they look at the Alt-Enter menu, wait a second, here. They choose field. If you make it a field, you burden the class. Now, this is it's too short time to explain all this. But in essence, the fields are things which are shared by many methods. You don't by default go to fields. What should I choose here? Hey, what? It wasn't there yet, but I will make it a list of rental, and then rentals. There you go. Compile. Parameter. So first, if you want to put something in a method, don't pass it through the field, but put it in a parameter to the method. This doesn't compile. What's this? Name. Well, since this class will get extracted, it's the name of who? Is the customer. We lost the context in which we were. We need to be more explicit. Customer name needs to be a parameter to this method, which needs to be passed here. Alt-Enter driven development, my friends. There you go. And then I don't like the order. Control F6, reorder. There you go. Right? Format statement. This one, now it compiles. By the way, have you noticed the package name that I prepared for you today? I don't do that much with my things normally. But for you, explicitly, it's a horror package. So, statement formatter. Good. Perfect. And then here, and then we end up in the customer, because we need to run the tests. And the test will crash, of course. Just moved. This is a 503. Is it right? No, not 503. 403. Did I say it right? Moved. 302. Oh my God. Yeah. 302. Moved. Permanently moved. So then, new statement formatter. And then I need to pass in what? Now, technically speaking, if you look carefully here, you might suggest me that instead of passing these two, I should pass the whole customer. Now, if it were only one parameter, I think none of you would have suggested that. If it were one more, I think all of you would suggest that. That's an incredibly brilliant kata. So brilliant. To do such a kata, to forge it, it takes months. It's brilliant because it's exactly 2 parameters. If it has 2 parameters, you are exactly on the edge. You can choose one or the other. Now, just for fun, let's see where it takes us if we choose to use primitives, not big objects. Let's see what happens in the test. In the test, I need to get from somewhere the customer name. Right? By the way, I must say, where are you? Control P. I must say, I love this. Not null, not null. Customer name. Wait, it's easy. Customer.getName. We didn't have one. GN. And then get, by the way, once more that saves your shift with scroll. Can you feel the joy? Shift with scroll. Get name. And then we need to do what? To do customer.getRentals. Well, I don't have the getter. Let's make the getter. Get rentals. There you go. And then down here, I need to put it here. Get rentals. Good. Run. It's phew. Now, normally, you should have written the commit message on a paper before you started any of these steps. YOLO. But now I have to ask you, what value is here? Always. John Doe. In your, the test should be as degenerate as possible. I will have tomorrow another talk with the art of unit testing. If I'm an artist. John Doe. Then what here? Wait. These are rentals. What am I doing? I'm building a customer, I'm sticking rentals in, and then I'm taking them out and giving to... What the heck? Do you see it? What should I do here? I love Alt-J. It's just beautiful. I'll make this like this. And here I'll say, as list. There is no such thing. I'm not yet in Java more. Once more. Control space 2 times. Yes. Do you see it? Once more. As list. Control space once. Control space twice. Aha! This save now, folks. These things allow you to focus on your goal. Now do the gear shifter, right? Very important. Make a variable out of this. Rentals, obviously. All that I press is here. Anyway. And then rentals, you go here. Good. This is grayed out. Opa. Whoa. Really? Wait. I did something wrong. Customer. What's wrong with my cursor? Again, Alt-Enter. Remove. Thank you. We read it in the replay afterwards. It's okay. And then, of course, this needs to be static import. Don't static import nothing else but GDK stuff. Don't static import your own functions. And then, guess what? This is no longer a customer test. Oops. This is actually a statement formatter. No. I always do that. Enter. Yes. Okay, and then run again. There you go. Statement. I did a typo. When it's gray, blue, red, or yellow, would you like to rename it to statement formatter test? IntelliJ knows better English than most of you. I want you to be waking up. Wait a second. Thesaurus. It's a thesaurus, not a thesaurus. Word thesaurus. This one. Dictionaries, my friends. Dictionaries. So spend 5 minutes per week in a dictionary. I think Kevin Henley had this 1 word per week. It's very interesting. Anyway. At which moment you realize that and that and that. And then we have more. My friends, this is more than 5 lines. Can we make it shorter? Technically speaking, these variables in which I stuck stuff in a for are classically named accumulators. Accumulators are variables in which you add stuff. And they are bad because they are highlighted, underlined. You see? What could we do if we had the guts to do it? Knowing that in that list aren't more than 50 elements. What could we do? And first of all, I want you to, some people suggest, do you want me to extract this? Let's try. There are multiple output values for the selected. You are touching this, this, and this. Should I take out the bazooka for you? Of course, it's DevOps. Come on. Yes, do it. Welsh. What the heck happened? New. And then, folks, invoke. This is a new class in which all the body went, which has 3 fields, actually more, that I can afterwards take out of it. This is the extract method object. I explained it in more depth in the other previous episode, let's say, 2 years ago. Go and look on this one, DevOps Poland. So, with my eyes very humble, I do undo. And then I think, why can't I extract the body of the 4? Because it does many things. A violation of the single responsibility principle, arguably one of the most important principles in programming. So what could we do if we have the guts? You said it, he said it, not me. Oh my God, then what? In the first 4, leave only the first line. In the second 4, leave the second. In the third 4, leave the third. Then I will localize the variable. You say, no. I did something wrong? Yes. Now, that's a mob programming, folks. Now, that's mob programming, really. I can't possibly do any mistake, right? Again. So this is a result and the path. Are we good? Good. Then I will localize the variable next to the 4. I will localize the variable next to the 4. I will localize next to the 4. At which point, in Eclipse, you will... How can we fix this? Now, first of all, even without Java 8, without thinking, we could just extract this to a method and further on break it into 3 little methods. But with Java 8, look what you can do. Just go here in the Alt-Enter, Zoom. Again. Zoom. What the heck is he doing? What the heck is he doing? Zoom. Windows, yes, Windows, sorry. Too old to switch. 4. Zoom. My God, what the heck is this? Numeric stream, sum. Venkat knows more. And then result. There you go. Then guess what? This could be a method. Let's try that. Let's make it a method in one single line named, of course, calculate total renter points. There you go. This one, Control W, expand selection, or even better, just click anywhere, Control Alt M will ask you how much code do you want to extract. Very nice. And then calculate total price. There you go. And then guess what? These 2 can be inlined down there. Look, now we will juggle a bit. Huh? Okay. Inline. Yeah! Extract again. Format, footer. And then guess what? Inline this one. Yeah! What the heck happens? Nobody knows. Format footer just gets the rental because it can compute itself by calling the 2 new methods. There you go. In which case, I can also take this out. Actually, this is a bit more contrived. Doesn't work with Alt-Enter. Just as a side effect for you, just click randomly in your code in IntelliJ and press Alt-Enter in various places. See what happens. Just for fun, you know? No, really. I had people coming back after training and say, whoa, look how I discovered. I didn't know some things. Result plus equals, how is it called? Rentals.stream dot map control space format bodyline dot collect dot joining. Thank you. And then of course I don't like that. I want to be okay, good. And then this becomes redundant. And with fear in our souls, we run the tests. You're good. Good. And then, but you realize, I'm kidding a bit, but do you realize how good it feels not to be able to? In which case, I would be Now, Fowler says something like the benefits of indirection, because some people think, why would you extract half a line? Are you insane? But look what I extract, to put a wiser name. Format body. How about that? Which can lead us, joint declaration with assignment, to a form like this. Now, folks, this is kindergarten. I mean, you can be drunk and figure out format header, format body, format footer. What the heck? Plus. What? How? Now, how did it all started? Repeat before. Now, what happened in my many developers that I trained were taught programming by teachers who learned C 30 years ago. Those teachers taught my people that 4 is an expensive operation. It was. Nowadays, what you see isn't what you get. You don't know, right? Ask Kirk. What you compile is not what gets run on your processor. That 4 doesn't happen, right? If you're thinking about performance, this is 100 times slower than a bare 4, because you tied the hands of Java. It isn't allowed to do much optimizations in that case, but the code is way more readable. That's another story. I don't want to go into all the places, but to keep focus, look how things can turn out if you have the guts to duplicate a bit. Yes? Java 11. How many of you are in production on Java 11? 1/4, 1 or less, 20%. Yes, you can, but yes, very good that you brought it up. So you can use repeat to remain on using the T operator in Java 11. You can do stuff at once, basically. But further on, you probably all of you are just like like in Gladiator. But this is gray, kill. Good. Guess what? If I go to the rental, I will figure out something new, something interesting. The get days rental isn't needed anymore. Because all the logic on this field is performed inside the object. So I will delete the getter. This equivalents to plus 10 points. I'm kidding. To delete the getter, oh my God. Woohoo. Now, in normal applications, it's hard. Very rarely you do that, honestly. But we're all thinking about this. No, you're not going who, switch, right? We all dream about switch. We go home, we have a beer, and we dream about the switch. The switch is the switch. Let's see, how can we fight this switch? Let's clean it up a bit. First of all, like this. This is great. Why adding? Return. Okay. Return. Good. And then anti-Python. And then I think that's it. Now, the switches, if used like this, is very weird because you cannot localize it like this here. I saw teams doing this. By the way, one other trick in IntelliJ, just select a block of text and just press a parenthesis. It will surround it with, you see? But you know why they do that? Because they want to have the double variable defined in both places. And look what they do. Because otherwise they will share the variable. You see the misery. The variable, the scope is a mess. It's a whoa. This is no, never. So what else? I will tell you now the rules of a hygienic switch. These are mine. A switch has 3 rules. Attention, you never read that. It's first rule, it has a default. Oops. Alt enter, insert default, thank you. And we normally put here what? You know, the Pandora box on the bottom, small, with her wings. It was the hope. Remember? I mean, Greek mythology? Anyway. Just so you hope there's... and you put a candle. But, okay, so this is the first rule. The second rule of the switch. The switch should be the only instruction in a function. the only instruction in a function. It's not the case here, you see? Now, because there is return here, and there is the definition of the variable. Oh my God, what the heck? How can I make it the only instruction in a function? I will end that path. No matter how weird that is, I will do anything just to avoid having any other instruction besides the switch. No, not you. Go away. And then here. Now, I will format. So rule number 2, matched. Doesn't compile. It's okay, but doesn't compile. Because I forgot to do here, return. So second rule of switch is that the switch is the first and last instruction in a method. So in other words, what am I doing here? Here, it's good. Break, no breaks. The famous joke from Venkat, in functional programming, we don't have breaks. Good, and then this is the only instruction. If you collapse it, it's the only one. Good. And the third rule of switch, the best one, every case must have at most one line, exactly one line, which is weird. What do I mean? What do you think I mean? Extract, don't think. 2 things I want you to remember. Extract. Extract, you name it how. Calculate regular price. Good. Keep. And then you can unwrap this and look, it's one line. Great. Next one, I will extract half a line just out of consistency. I will name it compute. No, calculate. New release. Price. Keep. Okay. Sorry. It annoys me. That dialogue really annoys me. And then calculate children. Now, just to be fair, that when you see that dialogue and you don't expect the code that it says it looks like this, press escape, go and look at that code and figure out if that code has the same business meaning as the code that you extract now. If it does, maybe think of reusing the method that you extract. But don't just do accept blindly, because you might end up coupling together pieces of code which doesn't have anything to do, just happen to look syntactically the same. And look what a nice switch I have. And in Java 13, hope it will be a lucky Java. Ooh. Okay, good. Now, this is the 3 rules of switch. The only instruction, one line per. Now, you might wonder if this method returned void, what would you do? I would call a method and then, what's this? Exactly, break. Okay, if you format it, it gets lost. I know. But the point is the same. Every case just calls one method or does a one-liner operation. Good. Now, from here on, there are multiple possible paths. Actually, about 11 paths. Many possible. And I will commit here. Play from here. I will invite you from here on to exercise all the options that you will see on a horrible slide that I will put for you. Just to name a few. And I will do hard. I will be rough on you because you're tough guys, folks. First. A map, the first, polymorphism. I will just put one word and you will figure out the rest. This is a path that Uncle Bob takes in his recording. This is one way. I'm not a very big fan of extends, to be honest. Second possible path, just sketching. Movie, get. But wait a second, nobody noticed. This is type price code. What do? You stop, you undo until green, you kill everything, you go there, and you use Shift F6, and you say, type, thank you. Do you want to do the getter? Yes, please. Do you want to do the parameter? Yes, please. Okay. And then you go again. You say, movie. You don't just let the dirt there. You see it, you fix it. It's so easy if you know And then you say, on the type, on the enum, yes, compute price. You need to pass the days rented here. But this could allow you to do the following weird stuff. Just sketching. I won't finish everything. You have imagination. You do it yourself. I know this is super weird. And if you look at this, you think, what the heck are you doing? You're switching on this. At which moment you might do abstract methods in an enum. Many people consider this outrageous. But the point is, you can have implementations in the enums. Long live Java. But technically speaking, this is also in Scala. I mean, it's interesting stuff. But as long as you don't put here 100, 220 lines of business logic. And as long as you don't need any dependency from Spring. Auto-wired won't work. Yes. I object. I object. Very good. Aha. Perfect. Touché. The distinction, I want to repeat. The argument was that if you do this switch multiple times, so I'm not sure how to fix this right now. I'm a bit on red. You got the point. I will undo. I promised I won't go much in detail with this. I will undo back. Use your imagination from here on. Maybe even practice it. Here, I will leave it like this. And now, the question, the point was, it's wrong because what if you do this switch 3 times? To compute the price, to compute the max allowed rental days, and calculate, not price, but calculate renter points. If you switch on the type in 3 switches, 3, magic number, 3, you stop and maybe you think more careful about polymorphism because it's better to distribute them in well-behaved objects, perhaps. Especially if the particular logic here and here use specific fields of that subtype. That's a clear sign. If the subtypes have different attributes, it's a clear sign that you need inheritance there, despite GPA. So, indeed, if you do this often, I mean, I wouldn't go further and say here public int, public abstract int m, and then guess what? N2. Don't do that. If it grows, it's ugly. It's very ugly. I mean, what the heck? Imagine a switch filled with business logic. I mean, what the heck? What's this? No, stop this. Indeed, good point. This is one. Is this one what you meant? Right? Good, perfect. Then another option you might have, although a bit more contrived, is the following. The famous fight between the switch and a map. A map. I will only sketch function between an integer and the double. The signature of this method, because if you look careful, it requires days rented. What you will lose if you do that, if you do this, what you will lose, I'm sketching, I'm sorry, I'm that import class. If you do this, come on. If you do this, you will lose this. If you do get and the key is not there, null pointer. Furthermore, if you stick with the switch like this, following these rules, in Java 13 plus, when you will do return, if you switch on an enum, imagine this, you switch on an enum, you skip the default, at compilation time, Java will check that you covered all the cases, all the enum values. It's amazing. If you add one more value to the enum, the compilation will fail in the switch. Why? Because the switch has to return a value. If it didn't fail in any case, what value should it return, right? So the thing won't compile, which is amazing. Java 13 plus, 14, who knows? They keep postponing it. So this is what you lose if you go for map. Another option you can do, I will rush a bit, is to put here a by function. The talk I gave here last year. Go and watch that one. What other things I saw? Strategy pattern. Interface. Price calculator. in which you put this like that, and you implement it in 3 places. They are all valid. They all will get you somewhere. But you get the point. The rest I will leave you to play. Okay, I will just leave the code like this, and I would like to make some retrospective. Sorry. What did we learn? Which should be the topic of the retrospective. First of all, what do you think these guys are doing? No, not cleaning. Pay attention, not cleaning. Assembling an AK-47 with their blindfolded. My father used to do that when he was in the army. They with the lights out, they put them to assemble their weapon. Why? Because in case the enemy strikes. So my point is, rename and extract method. You should always know how to do that. Always know how to do that. So now we played a bit with the scope of the extraction. When we included a variable inside the block, we needed to take less parameter in the block that we extracted. Remember? Then we didn't do the other kind, but if you take an expression out in a variable before the method, when you extract the dark blue block, it will take an additional parameter. And then guess what? In other places, you can give other parameters. These are moves you can learn with time, very, very powerful moves. Feature envy we saw means that if you call a method on alpha, passing alpha, you can always move the method in alpha if it makes sense to be there. OOP this time. And the most powerful forces in the universe. The third one is Control Z. The second one, Shift F6. That's a tool. The power. Revert. And I cry with you together. I reverted in total weeks worth of work my whole life. But the first power in the universe. I ruined the surprise. It's love. Love for your reader. Care for those who will read, the poor souls who will read your code. And speaking about love, do you love switches? To do a hygienic switch or only instruction in a method, the default throw new Jesus-driven development. And then one liner per case, right? And if you do that, you recover the love. Okay, so I'm exactly, okay, 3 seconds past the time. That was all, folks. If you have any question, I'll be more than delighted to discuss here. I'll be here today, all day, and tomorrow also until noon. Otherwise, I'll post the slides here. This is the Git location. When I push, all the code already is there. We have these, and then just ask me stuff, okay? Thank you very much, folks, and have a great DevOps.